Welcome to this explainer. All right, buckle up because today we are moving fast. I want you to just picture a high-speed time lapse in your mind for a second. Imagine sparks flying, heavy machinery roaring, and these massive pieces of metal being hoisted through the air in a total blur of motion. We are looking at a radical shift in how the world handles its absolute most valuable assets. And it all starts with a puzzle that turns traditional economics completely upside down. So in that mental time lapse we just started, what you're actually seeing is the total dismantling and rebuilding of 59 massive German ICE-1 high-speed trains. We are talking about tearing down entire passenger carriages and locomotives that have already traveled 15 million kilometers. Just to put that into perspective, that's the equivalent of circling the globe 375 times.
But here is where the numbers get truly wild. By choosing to remanufacture these trains, instead of just, scrapping them, the German railway preserved a staggering 16,500 tons of heavy steel and over 1,000 tons of copper. They literally prevented 500,000 tons of mining waste from being generated and saved 35,000 tons of CO2 emissions.
And here is the ultimate punchline. Taking this route saved 87% in financial costs compared to buying new trains. 87%. They essentially got a brand new, technologically upgraded fleet for an absolute fraction of the price. So the core mystery we are unraveling today is how exactly was this massive technical and financial triumph achieved, and who is the hidden architect behind it? Section 1. The train that lived twice. ICE-1 remanufacturing. Okay, let's dive right into this by looking closely at the German DB Nuremberg Railway Workshop, because the engineering feat they pulled off is frankly nothing short of miraculous. This wasn't just slapping on a fresh coat of paint. This was a complete systematic overhaul designed to give these trains a second full service life of 15 extra years. Look at the stark contrast here. A brand new train? That would have cost 25 million euros. The remanufactured train, just 3 million euros. To pull this off, engineers completely dismantled 12,000 individual components per train. Every single piece was cleaned, repaired, remanufactured, or discarded. They even upgraded the tech, adding modern power outlets and internet, all while preserving 80% of the original material in each 25-ton carriage. It's a symphony of sparks, heavy lifting, and precision engineering that literally doubled the lifespan of a multi-million-euro asset. Section 2. Rise of the Fleet Manager, a new economic actor. Now, the physical remanufacturing of those trains, that's really just the symptom. The real cure, the hidden economic mechanism driving these brilliant decisions, is an actor you actually interact with constantly, but probably never think about. So the crucial point is that fleet managers operate on entirely different incentives than traditional buyers and sellers. Fleet managers don't just buy things to consume them. Think of railways, airlines, or companies renting heavy equipment. Because they retain ownership of the physical asset, they are entirely on the hook for the long-term costs of operation, maintenance, risk, and eventually waste. So, to survive, they absolutely must optimize the entire system to last as long as humanly possible. And this completely breaks the mold of the traditional linear economy we're all so used to, which relies on a simple take, make, dispose model, where producers just externalize the costs of waste. Fleet managers, on the other hand, live in the performance economy. In this economy, you don't sell objects, you sell the performance of those objects. And when you are legally and financially liable for the product for its entire life, well, your biggest incentive is to prevent waste, reduce risks, and fiercely maintain its value. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how charting these metrics creates a completely new definition of quality. In the old linear economy, quality kind of just meant the absence of a manufacturing defect right out of the box, right? But here, look at the axes: efficiency, time, and liability. Quality is now defined as the optimization of system functioning over long periods of time. Time and uncertainty become the ultimate tests of how good something really is. Selling performance rather than just physical objects shifts the entire corporate focus to lasting customer satisfaction. By combining original equipment manufacturer skills with operation and maintenance skills, while keeping ownership, companies can actually guarantee function. They profit by making sure the system never breaks down, rather than profiting from selling you a shiny new replacement when it inevitably does. Section 3. Spareless Jet Repairs, Air Force Innovation.
Let's move on and see how this builds into an entirely different, incredibly high-tech environment.
We're taking a trip from the railways of Germany directly into the hangars of the U.S. Air Force. Imagine the visceral, intense environment of a military jet engine repair facility. The U.S. Air Force developed a brilliant technique called activated diffusion bonding. Instead of tossing out a highly expensive, worn-out turbine blade and buying a brand new one from the manufacturer, mechanics use this high-tech method to bond entirely new edges directly onto the worn-out surfaces. And because turbine blades differ wildly across engine types, this smart operation completely eliminates the reliance on a massive inventory of spare parts. It's a perfect example of a fleet manager inventing a clever maintenance solution that an original manufacturer might happily ignore simply because, well, they want to sell more spares.
Whether it is a massive 25-ton high-speed train carriages or a highly sensitive jet engine turbine blade, the core philosophy is absolutely identical: rebuilding instead of replacing. By totally eliminating the concept of waste, fleet managers optimize both technical performance and their own financial survival.
Section 4. User Stewardship Secret: the human element.
But let's hit the brakes on the high-tech wizardry for just a moment. All of this incredible engineering, all of these brilliant economic models, they literally hit a massive brick wall if we ignore one highly unpredictable, incredibly volatile factor: the human element. I want you to really think about this for a second. With billions of dollars invested in extending the life of these shared assets, from public transport to pay-per-use technical equipment, what do you think is the single biggest threat to this whole sustainable performance economy? It's vandalism and abuse. It is a stark, kind of brutal realization. It doesn't matter if you can bond new titanium edges onto a jet turbine blade or rebuild an entire train interior to last another 15 years, if the end user simply decides to slash the seats, break the equipment, or treat the shared asset with total disrespect. And this brilliantly illustrates why your behavior is the ultimate linchpin in this whole system. In the performance economy, users aren't just passive consumers. They are active partners to fleet managers. We get the huge benefit of flexibility, paying only for what we actually use without all the massive burdens of ownership. But in exchange, the system requires a culture of user stewardship. If that stewardship fails, the costs of repair absolutely skyrocket, and it can financially ruin these incredibly sustainable business ventures practically overnight. Dr. Stachel notes in our source material that the motivation here is actually deeply cultural. How do we regulate these shared systems? Well, in closely knit communities, social norms and even community shaming act as really powerful deterrents against abusing shared resources. If you abuse the system, the ultimate punishment isn't just getting hit with a fine, it's total exclusion. You literally lose access to the performance you rely on every day. So as we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with a thought to carry into your daily life. Every single time you step onto a train, rent a piece of equipment, or use a shared service, you are an active participant in this economic shift. The technologies to save our resources and our finances, they already exist, but they rely entirely on us. So I have to ask, are you a steward of the systems you use, or are you just a consumer? Think about that next time you use a service. Your everyday actions literally hold the key to a sustainable future. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time.